I'm not leaving my inheritance to my kids. Is that wrong? When I told my son I wouldn't be leaving him this house, he looked at me like I had just stopped being his father. He wasn't angry, just disappointed. But sometimes disappointment is heavier than blame. My name is Richard. I'm 76 years old. I live alone in Oregon. I have two grown children, Jake and Allison. Both have homes, families, and lives of their own. My wife, Linda, passed away 12 years ago from cancer. Since then, I've learned how to cook, tend the garden, and live with something I never expected: loneliness. For years, I believed my home, my savings, those are the only things I could pass on that had value. Then, one winter morning, I slipped while clearing snow from my front steps. I lay there, soaked and freezing, unable to get up. My phone was inside on the kitchen counter. I don't know how long I was there. A neighbor eventually saw me and called an ambulance. And all I could think was, I could have died on my front lawn. I had a valuable home, two capable children, and I still could have died completely alone. That moment changed something in me. 3 months later, I sold the house. Yes, the same house where Linda and I raised our kids, shared summer evenings on the porch, and lived through decades of memories. I used the money to buy a smaller condo, ground floor, closer to a senior community center. And I started traveling Alaska, Italy, Japan. The places Linda and I used to dream of, but never got to see together. I took her picture everywhere I went, in my wallet and in my heart. I also donated a large portion of my money to a cancer research fund. A final gift, a quiet apology for not noticing her illness sooner. When my son found out, he called me. "Dad, did you even think about us? About your grandchildren? We're not rich, you know. Don't you want to help us?" I paused for a second. Then I said, "Jake, when you're 76, do you want to remember that your dad left you a house? Or that he spent his final years actually living?" He didn't respond. I used to think a will was a measure of love. But I see it differently now. Love shouldn't be a transaction. I raised my children with everything I had. I worked 35 years in a factory so they could go to college, be safe, be free. But I don't have the strength to carry anyone's future anymore. I just want to live the rest of my life for me. I understand some people will call me selfish, that I've abandoned my duty as a father. But anyone who's ever watched their soulmate fade away from cancer, anyone who's ever laid in the snow wondering if help would come, they know. Sometimes surviving isn't enough. You have to find meaning in that survival. Most evenings, I play chess at the community center. I share stories about Rome, Kyoto, and the postcards I still write to Linda from every trip. I won't leave behind a fortune, but I will leave behind 1,000 memories. I didn't die in a big, cold house. I lived, I loved, and finally, I chose myself. When I'm gone, I hope my kids don't find an empty bank account and feel betrayed. I hope they find a notebook full of stories, laughter, mistakes, and the journey of a man who wasn't perfect, but brave enough to learn how to live. To anyone listening right now, you don't owe your children your entire life. Love doesn't have to be inherited through assets. And growing old isn't about waiting for the end. It's about making the most of what's left. Thank you for listening to my story. This was episode 7 of the series Autumn Stories of Life. If you've ever felt guilty for choosing yourself, remember, your happiness matters too. See you in the next episode.